Hello, my name's Rachel and welcome to WombTube. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm asked quite constantly, and my inbox gets flooded with questions about ovulation predictor kits. Ovulation predictor kits are a test that you can buy, ideally from a chemist, but you can buy them on the internet. And you dip them in a urine sample and they should tell you whether or not you're ovulating. And the many questions I get regarding these are: why aren't I ovulating? Does the test work? How do I read it? How long do I have until I'm no longer ovulating? And these questions seem to stress most of their senders out. So I thought I would share with you some tips that you can use instead of using these OPKs, and hopefully it'll make life a bit easier for you. So first of all, OPKs, that's the short version of Ovulation Predictor Kits, they are used to tell whether you're ovulating, usually because you want to be able to conceive. So they have two functions: one, telling you that you do ovulate, or maybe you don't, and second, when you're ovulating, and therefore when to try to conceive a baby. So the first one, do you ovulate? This is a really important question because some women do have anovulatory cycles, meaning they don't ovulate at all. This can be due to a number of reasons, such as they may have polycystic ovarian syndrome, also called PCOS for short, and there are a few other reasons too. If it's a case of you want to check that you are ovulating, there are two other ways you can do this. One, you can track your basal body temperature at home. Doing this requires a basal body temperature thermometer. It's small and thin. You take the temperature every morning. Here's one here. As you can see, you take temperature every morning as soon as you wake up. It literally has to be before you start moving around, because then your metabolic processes start to increase, and as a result your temperature increases too. So literally the second you wake up is when you need to take your temperature. It's usually done under the tongue. It can be done vaginally or rectally, but obviously that's slightly less convenient. And some people say they have difficulty charting the number after this. Most of these thermometers do store the temperature, so you can take the temperature and then turn it on and look at what the temperature was when you last took it. The only thing is, this isn't prone to mistakes. So for example, sometimes if you've had alcohol, you will have a higher temperature the next morning. If you wake up earlier or later, you do need to adjust the temperature if you know what your normal timing is, and obviously being unwell, your temperature will be higher. But assuming you don't have any of those disturbances, your basal body temperature will rise by 0.2 degrees after ovulation. And the reason is because you have progesterone, which can only happen after ovulation. That causes the thalamus to warm up the body slightly, and therefore you get that rise. If you want to learn how to use BBT charting, there are plenty of resources on the internet, or you can find a natural family planning teacher, such as myself. The other way you can find out if you definitely have ovulated is going to your primary care practitioner for it's called a day 21 test. And this tracks whether you've got a progesterone rise on day 21 of your cycle. The important thing to realise with this test is that not everyone ovulates on day 14. This test should be done 7 days after you have ovulated. So if you've got a cycle that isn't exactly 28 days and you don't ovulate bang on day 14, then you may get a false reading on day 21. You may ovulate later, you may ovulate earlier, in which case it won't be such a big deal. But just bear that in mind. So that's if you want to see whether you're ovulating or not. The second reason you may want to take an ovulation kit is because you want to conceive and you want to know when the best time to try it is. And the one problem with using an ovulation kit is that your egg is only viable for 12 hours after you've ovulated. And ovulation itself only takes 15 minutes. So the LH surge that you get just before ovulation to just after isn't the most reliable way, because sperm usually takes a few days to get to the fallopian tube. So just to give you an example, this is my womb, not my actual womb, obviously, my little helper. So my egg is released, and usually it gets fertilised around here, but sperm has to travel up the vagina, up the womb, and down the fallopian tube. That can take days. Even sort of faster sperm still takes about 12 hours. And if you think about it, you need at least 40 million sperm to get 20 to come this far. So you really want to up your chances as much as possible. So by the time you've taken that test kit, the chances are it's too late. There is still a chance, but it's very low. There is another way you can tell when your fertile window starts. As I said, sperm actually live for a number of days in the body when there's the correct environment in the vagina. And the correct environment is an alkaline environment, and your cervix produces a mucus or a fluid, whatever you want to call it. It's a fertile fluid. It makes the vagina more lubricated. It is alkaline, so it's a nourishing environment for sperm, and it can hold sperm there for a number of days until the egg is ready, and then let the sperm carry on its way. So for this reason, if you have an idea when you ovulate and you have intercourse 2 or 3 times in the week leading up to that, then you are increasing your chances of conception. If you aren't sure when your fertile window starts, you can start observing either your mucus or your cervix. I'm just going to talk about mucus because the cervix sign is a bit more difficult, and not many people like using that one. So you probably notice that you have discharge every now and then, and this discharge, usually you have your period, you have a few dry days, you then might get thick, clotty, tacky, flaky, white or creamy discharge. It eventually gets wetter and wetter until it's really, really quite slippery, and then it'll get clearer as well. When you feel that wet sensation in your vulva as you're walking around, it feels wet, it feels slippy, slightly uncomfortable. And also when you wipe down there, you'll see lots and lots of fluid. It looks very similar to raw egg white. Some women don't get it clear, it stays cloudy, but it's still very fertile fluid. When you start seeing this really wet, slippery and cloudy or clear fluid, that's the beginning of your really fertile window. So do try and have intercourse a few times during that period, so that leading up to ovulation you've got the sperm there and it's ready to meet the egg. Hopefully you'll realise that this means that you can take a lot of the stress off testing and then finding your partner and trying to get everything done before your ovulatory window closes. And I hope you found this helpful. If you did, come across to my website. It's www.thehealthywomb.com, and you'll see all my other blog entries there, and hopefully you'll find them useful. Have a great day. Bye.